Well, it's a Saturday, and I'm sitting here with Dean Paschal,
Professor Cutler.
and we want to talk about contracts, which we refer to as the law of.
Promises.
Yeah. And so what you should think about from, coming out of the gate with contracts, what you should think about a relationship, think about a contract rather as a relationship, and begin evaluating what was said, what was done to determine or to help you to determine whether or not parties entered into a contractual relationship. What was done to cause a person to extend his or her hand and the other person
to accept it.
Right. And then once this contractual relationship is formed, when either party walks away, what are the ramifications or the remedies? And as you think about contracts the same way you do with torts. It is a substantive right. So that means there are certain prima facie or prima facie elements out there that must be met to say a contract exists. Those elements include agreement, which really is offer and acceptance, consideration, and then there's capacity and legality. You won't have to focus on capacity and legality, but why don't we start with the big one,
consideration.
Yeah.
Okay. Promises by themselves, standing by themselves, don't mean anything. In order for me to have to keep this promise, you've got to give me something in return for it that I was bargaining for. You've got to give me something back that benefits me. So when we look at the basic example of I promise you $500 tomorrow, I write on a sheet of paper, we both sign it, it's notarized, there are witnesses, 5 o'clock tomorrow comes, do I have to give you the $500? The answer is no. Because when I made that promise, was anything given back in return for that? The answer is no. What is given back in return? Your return promise, I promise to pay you $500 in return for your promise to paint my room. Okay, then there'd be an exchange of promises. That'd be a bilateral contract, and you would give me something in return for this, for me to have to keep this promise. So transfer that over to the Lucky case. Okay, in the Lucky case, I promised Lucky a scholarship. Do I have to honor my promise to Lucky? Well, the question is, was I bargaining for something back? Was I getting a benefit back from Lucky that I was bargaining for? And I think the answer is no. This was just a gift. That's fake number one. So we've got these 4 fakes that look like contracts, but they aren't because there's really no consideration. It's just a promise, nothing given in return. Fake number 1. Fake number 2, we talked yesterday on the phone a little bit about the idea that, well, let's say, let me go to another basic example. You've hired me to paint your basement for $1,000. We have a bilateral contract. I promise to paint, you promise to pay when I finish. Okay, I'm coming in on Saturday to do it. When I get here on Saturday, I say, wow, I miscalculated this. Can we have the deal for $1,500? So I start paying, then I say that. Can you pay me another $500? After I start paying a little bit and realize that I don't have enough paint or whatever. And you say, sure, Sam, I'll give you $500. Okay, we go back to the original contract, scratch out 1,000, write 1,500, and I finish painting. How much do you have to pay me? The answer is no. The contract has not been effectively modified. You pay me the pre-existing agreement pre-existing rate that we had, which is only 1,000. Why? Because when you promised me that you'd pay me $500, what did I do for you that I was not already obligated to do under our pre-existing agreement? The answer is nothing. So therefore, for me to make you have to keep your promise, for your promise to be binding, I'd have to give you back consideration for that. Consideration could be doing something extra that I wasn't supposed to do under the original contract, cleaning the windows, sweeping the porch, something like that. The idea being that your new promise, there's nothing given in return for it, so it doesn't mean anything. That's fake number 2. That's called the pre-existing duty rule.
Okay. And why don't we pause here
Yeah,
and then come back and talk about the 2 others?
Yes.
Okay.